it's time to go on the road again. And that means we're hopping in the big nerdy mobile, picking up my buddy John to be the cameraman, and we're hopping on over the Delaware River, brother, right through Washington's Crossing to visit John, who you might know better as Hedgehog Action Figure, or Action Figure, the Hedgehog guy. Not Sonic, just a hedgehog with toys, I guess. I don't know. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this one, because listening to John talk about his strategy when he went and set up his display, I think you're going to get a lot out of it, and it's going to inspire you and make it more fun in general, and who doesn't want that? So let's do this. What's up, everybody? My name is Matt, often called Big Nerdy. Together we are the NWO, the Nerd World Order, and this is Nerdzoic. Why are we still here? Let's hit the road, but one thing first, a quick warning. John talks a lot, much like Big Nerdy. Because we like keeping the channel's videos pretty fast-paced and punchy, we didn't keep everything in. If you want to see the full uncut tour, there is a link in the description. Otherwise, let's head on over.
My name is Jonathan Donath. You can find me on social media, Hedgehog Action, at Hedgehog Action. I collect a whole bunch of different kinds of stuff. I collect vintage and modern action figures. For vintage, I'm a big G.I. Joe guy. For modern, my favorite line is Mythic Legions, but Mezco 112 Collective, Super 7 close behind.
So we start off this collection with old school Toy Biz and I guess Mattel Marvel.
Over here we have like a sort of a mixture of different Marvel things here and a couple other random pieces here. Secret Wars is another one of my favorite lines from the 80s when I was young. I had a few Secret Wars figures. I even had the Tower of Doom when I was a kid. I also throw in this Marvel's Apocalypse from the Uncanny X-Men that just came out last year.
And then down below I see we have like the one packaged Marvel Legend without a window that I actually care for.
My introduction to all of the Marvel characters wasn't really the Marvel comics. To me, it was the animated series Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I had to get it. I still don't think that's the perfect Iceman, but absolutely it was one that I needed to have.
It's the best they've done, at least. David Display's model behavior has me convinced that they're a throuple. I see we have more of a hodgepodge here. Now we're going into like the Toy Biz era / Kenner with the superpowers. Are these the ones you were talking about wanting to complete?
Yeah, absolutely. Like on my top shelf over here, what you'll see is that's kind of like my DC shelf, right?
Yeah.
But you see everything from the original Kenner superpowers that are on those little blue stands from the 80s, many of which are childhood figures again. That Green Lantern, the Superman is a childhood figure, the Penguin is a childhood figure. So I guess I would say the biggest regret, to the extent I have one in my collecting life, is not having been able to hold on to more of my childhood figures, because there's still some that I would love to have had, but at the same time I do consider myself fortunate that I have the ones that I do have from my childhood. And then you have some Mezco. That dark side that Mezco did is insane. He's made out of like a poly stone, so it's like a different material. He lights up. And now I have the Christopher Reeve Superman and the Dr. Fate there, but I've sort of replaced the heads with a couple of Mezco heads. And then up on the wall we have a couple of carded figures, and then that Brainiac, whose card's a little bit beat up, but he's special to me because my wife took me to Somerville for a Father's Day a couple years ago, and we went into a comic shop, and that's what I picked up when I was there. So I often attach, besides a character and a line, figures mean a lot to me based on the story behind them a lot. My holy grail as of right now has got to be Kenner Superpowers Cyborg. Superpowers is one of the few lines that I think is small enough that I might be able to be a completionist about it and collect everything. And Cyborg is the figure from the line that I want most of all, and he's the hardest to get. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is another one that I think I'd like to end up collecting the whole line, and I've got a few so far.
Moving to the next shelf, we got a hodgepodge of Legends and Mezcos. I'm actually digging the way you kind of combine the stuff. That Wolverine, man, he's gorgeous.
That's the best Wolverine that I've ever come across. I happened to get him, there was some kind of sale where I got him.
Tell us about our next shelf. Is that the glow-in-the-dark Muckman?
So that's the Super 7 glow-in-the-dark Muckman, the New York Comic Con exclusive. There's a little story behind him just because I picked him up at New York Comic Con this year. I went for the first time ever with my 11-year-old son. I decided to try to do like a glow-in-the-dark shelf. So now I'm gonna be pulling in figures from all over the place that just happen to be glow-in-the-darks. The Jada Toys creature, that's glow-in-the-dark. and then that San Diego Comic-Con exclusive glow-in-the-dark Baxter Stockman from Super 7, that glow-in-the-dark RoboCop. That's my only Haya.
So Haya, I just became familiar with. They have their first 1/12 scale figure coming out.
I heard about that.
Rambo. You don't want to go down that road. You got the big rockin' TV going. Then below it, we hit what's probably going to be your favorite area, I bet, the Mythics area.
Yeah, so this is my first little Mythics area here. I started trying to set up a little environment with like the rocks and everything like that. Mythic Legion's Ice Troll is one of my favorite figures of all time. Whenever it snows, he's going outside, he's getting pictures taken with the snowman.
It's cold for him, it's cold for you.
Yes. Mythic Legions, the Four Horsemen, they made a moose. I still can't believe it.
Can't believe it. Although, I need to get one of those, paint its nose red, and put Father Christmas on him. Like that, I feel like, you know, you finally jumped the shark and you're there.
I can't believe I haven't seen that yet. That's gotta happen.
Like, Trevor, what are you doing? What are you doing, Trevor? Moving on, more Mythics. I feel like I saw that Dio somewhere. Like, was that, did you pick that up at the Legion's Con?
I didn't. That's from Extreme Sets, but I have seen either that Dio or others that look a lot like it that have been around. So I think it's a very popular one. The marshy mat there, that was from Legion's shop. That fountain there, I did get that fountain from Legion's Con. That's from a company, Drunk Gizmo Customs.
Okay.
So this figure was from Wolf King Customs and was a door prize.
Next up, I see we have the Thundercats, and again, you got the vintage mixed in with the Super 7.
I'm a big fan of the Super 7 Thundercats Ultimates. Pumaira, I guess Thundercats Classics is what it was called when Mattel still had it. The rest of those guys are mainly the Super 7 versions, which I absolutely love. The Mum-Ra and the Lino I ended up acquiring from a collection that I bought. The old vintage Mum-Ra I picked up from ZoloCon last year.
And as we go down, we got the same thing with Masters. You got 2 shelves of Masters mixed in with some Super 7. The Super 7 stuff's really starting to appeal to me. You know, the more I see out of the box, the more I love it. It's not a good thing for me in my bank account.
And on the bottom there, you have 3 different Robotos. Roboto's actually one of my favorite characters.
Despite being in, what was he, in like 1 episode originally?
Some of my favorite childhood survivors, I still have some of my Masters of the Universe figures with me from my childhood. I've got Trapjaw, Cobra Khan, Grizzlor, Ram Man, and actually a Dragon Walker vehicle from my childhood.
As we move on, we see more Four Horsemen. I specifically love the way you put the lighting behind it. My Mythic collecting has just been, that looks cool, I'll buy it. I need to find like a focus for it. I don't know any of their names, I don't. I just say, hey, it's Battle Cat. I want him. He looks fantastic.
That's perfect, because that's who he is. His name in Mythic Legions is Kauros. He's a beautifully painted figure. Like the detail with like the metallic paints on him, he's gorgeous. And I sort of grouped the figures on this top shelf together mainly for like a color scheme. So there's sort of like a fire theme going on here. So I've got Arathir with the flaming sword and his horse Atheon. And then I've got Apharius, the centaur, and they're kind of in a battle there. And then on his right, there's a goblin there that I actually painted. My first ever paint job. I painted them all gold.
He looks good. And then we have the other shelf of Mythics. Now you got a purple thing going on.
The purple is really inspired by the Alithia wave from Mythic Legions, which is like the vampire wave. It's got to be my favorite. Really? I mean, Hagnon in the front, one of my favorite figures of all time. In the back there's one of the NECA Predators, the original Predator movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's called the Laser Shot Predator. He's there because he's purple. I prefer the toy hunt. It's much more difficult to go on those now. I'm like the rest of us. I always have a million pre-orders, go in every once in a while and do a little pruning job, like to cut them down, but I very much prefer the toy hunt.
Then you have your carded stuff. We got the Trapjaw tribute. We got Cara Dune, because you'll never get her again. We got some carbonized stuff. Look at that.
Here's the thing, guys. It's me. So everybody always wonders, while they're making another cheap repaint, they're gonna carbonize a bunch of carded stuff on the wall. Carded stuff for me, it happens for different reasons. A lot of times it's because it's vintage, like the Power Lords Arcus, the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Boba Fett. My sister-in-law gave that to me for Christmas, so it's special to me. And other times it's just because I haven't opened the figure yet. I need to do something with it, hang it on the wall.
Well, I love the Masters of the Universe Classics line. That's one of those lines that, like, if you didn't get it when it was coming out, you better be rich now.
Well, that Fearless Photog figure, that's something of a grail because, you know, a lot of people probably know the story. That was from the 80s when Masters ran this contest where they had fans create their own figure. The kid wins by designing this character, Fearless Photog, and then the figure was going to be made. My understanding is, I might have this wrong, but I think he actually won the prize money, but they never ended up making the figure because the line died after that. So when Mattel was doing Masters of the Universe Classics, they went back and for the first time ever made the Fearless Photog figure, and that's where that guy comes from.
So I see Defenders of the Universe, another classic. Once again, mixing in your turtles with, I see NECA, Super 7, and Playmates on the same shelf. Favorite turtle character of all time?
Michelangelo.
Have you read The Last Ronin?
I have not.
Oh, no spoilers then. Going down more, we go to the Ghostbuster / Predator shelf. That's a very interesting combination. It looks like Egon might want to take out the Predator, but he doesn't see a chopper.
Get to the chopper!
We move into the Wars. This looks like your classic homage. Are those originals or are those retros?
So the originals we have on that shelf are the R2-D2 on the top and the low gray, no more accessories, but those two are both childhood originals. I gotta call out that shiny Boba Fett. That was an Iconicon exclusive. That was the exclusive that was made, I think, by Stan Solo Creations. I saw it, needed to have it. One of the most beautiful shiny things I've ever seen.
Nice. I love how you have Mando flying there. Every one of these tours I've done, somebody has one of these one-up arcades. And I've always been of the impression like, man, maybe one day I'll like build one and have everything in the same. In fact, our awesome cameraman today did that. As I see these, I'm getting the feels. I want one. I think my only issue is I'm a giant, so I'd have to like get on my knees to play.
I have been lucky enough to acquire a couple of Holy Grails in my life, and I know there's varying definitions of what a Holy Grail is. I generally think of it as, you know, some type of showpiece that's hard to find or very expensive or very old. And from my childhood, the two that really spring to mind are the USS Flag and the Defiant Space Station, both from G.I. Joe. As a kid, I always dreamed about those things.
I've told many people I didn't have any Joes. I was not a Joe guy. You clearly were. Tell us about this. What memories do you have?
So G.I. Joe was my favorite toy line growing up. I just loved the scale. I loved all the characters. I loved the cartoon. I even loved the damn movie. I never had the Defiant Space Station as a kid, but I have a very specific memory of seeing it like in a Toys R Us catalog or something like that and just being like, I can't believe they made a space station. It's so amazing. I never even saw one in person until I was an adult. So when I had the opportunity to pick one up, I just needed to.
I came down, I'm like, is that like a mini Unicron? Because we all know my Transformers knowledge is minimal. Who the heck is that?
It is a Unicron,
right.
a bit of a smaller scale. It is made by Takara, and it's in a translucent green. I have no idea why, but I like translucent colors anyway.
Now we come into the gem of the collection, and this thing is massive. It's clearly the Sky Striker line. It's the flag. Like, that just catches the attention, man.
This is the playset. The 80s was the decade of playsets that we'll never probably see again. And just the audacity. You know, the toy companies in the 80s decided we're gonna make a mock aircraft carrier that's gonna be freaking 7 feet long, as big as a table, and people are gonna buy it.
It is pretty freaking amazing. Not a G.I. Joe guy, but it's like one of those things I feel like I might one day actually have.
Honestly, because I have the flag,
Yeah.
may have been the biggest reason why I went in on the HasLab Sky Striker, because I thought it would look cool sitting on it.
Just wait till they do the flag. Nah, it's not gonna happen. That flag would be like $1,000 today. Tons of awesome Joes. We got both scales. We have originals from the Real American Hero line.
There's some 25th anniversary guys on there, vintage Star Brigade, and then just some like one-off figures. Like I had that Larry Hama G.I. Joe action figure. I was like, that's amazing. I actually met Larry Hama one time.
Oh, nice.
Nicest guy in the world. I mean, he is as much as, if not more than anybody else, responsible for all the G.I. Joe stuff.
Yeah.
So, very special.
Is Captain Nemo unhappy with the aircraft carrier being in his ocean? He seems angry there.
And it's Captain Nemo. It's him in the ocean. He's not messing around.
Blue tablecloth though, nice touch with the ocean tablecloth.
Amazon, I was like, let me just see if I can have something to go underneath this so it'll look like water.
That is a smart move. I give you that one.
On the top shelf, there's a Mythic Legions Lord Viteris.
Oh, my friend Joe.
That's right, I saw that video of you talking to Joe Viteris. He's a great dude. That's sitting here by itself because I need to bring it with me one time and I'll ask him to sign it. And then on the left, same shelf, that little goat guy is Krotos from the Alethea Wave. That guy is sitting there because I wanted to make sure he had a place of honor. It was given to me by my good buddy, Eric LeBron.
More Super 7, more glow in the dark. Man, this is a hell of a setup you got. And then down below, you have your trolls in the box still. Are they staying in the box or you just haven't figured out what you're doing with them yet?
They're gonna come out. The Ice Troll now has like the Cyclops head that he came with, and I want to pop that on there. The Brontis, the red guy, I'm just waiting for the heads to come in on them. And actually, that'll make my second Ice Troll, and I have a secret custom planned for one of them that I don't know if I can pull off, but I'm gonna try it out.
We look forward to seeing that one. All right, and then we have the sports section, and it's all Philly. I freaking love them.
I just pulled out my favorite stars who had a very special moment in my Philadelphia fandom here for me. And of course, a bunch of the Phillies that won the World Series. Iverson never won a title, but probably my favorite basketball player of all time. And BDN, Nikki Sixx, he's gotta be up there. He gave me a Super Bowl.
No doubt. You got a statue, you get your own figure.
For a new collector, if you're just kind of getting into the hobby, look forward more than looking back. A lot of times I think a collector will get into a line, they get caught up in the hype, and they hear people talking about this figure or this character that everybody's looking to get, and now you can only get them for 300 bucks on the aftermarket or something like that. Don't worry about getting the figure that's 400 bucks from 5 years ago. There's so much stuff coming out now. Get those figures now. Those are the figures that are going to be worth $300, $400 a couple years down the road.
Last but not least, this is beautiful. Tell us about it.
One of the biggest things for me too is being able to meet some of the creators that I'm fans of. Like I've got prints from Trevor16 Shooter. This right here is a print from Nate Barch, who's done a ton of Masters of the Universe art and now does all the Four Horsemen art. I bought this at Legions Con 2021 and he was kind enough to sign it for me and personalize it to Hedgehog action. So it means a lot to me and it's a great piece of art.
Another collection tour is in the books. I still haven't been murdered. I fixed a submission form for everybody who emailed me. If you haven't applied to be in this series in the future, go hit that link now. It should work. And check out some of the other videos in this series. And remember, you gotta get old, but you don't have to grow up. Just be cool and stay nerdy. Later.